Hello everyone, my name is Dhananjay Kumar. In this video, we are going to learn that how we can work with list view in an application for App Store. We'll see that how we can perform data binding on list view, how we can set the data source of list view, and in latter part of video, we'll see that how we can work with template of list view. List view is a WinJS control which allows you to visualize your data or rather display your data in application. While working with list view, there are three steps I would rather say we need to follow. The first step is the data source. You need to create data source. Before displaying data, you need to know that where your data is residing, whether you are fetching data from a remote server by consuming some services, or you got your data in local storage. If your data is in local storage, then you will be using local storage APIs to read the data and then later bind it to the list view. Whereas if your data is coming from some remote services, for example, that service is exposing OData endpoint or a REST endpoint, then you'll have to consume data accordingly on the type of the service. Once you got data in your application, the next thing would be to create or put WinJS list view control on your HTML page. After putting list view control, you need to perform or set necessarily attributes like data source, like whether you want to display list view in a grid manner or in a list view manner, etc. Once the data source is in place, list view is in place, the third and most important thing you would like to do is to create template for the list view. Template says that how you want to display data in the list view. It makes your list view more immersive. So let us directly jump into the demo and see how we can work with WinJS list view control. To start with, I have created a project by selecting new project, and from the JavaScript language tab I selected Windows Metro style project, and here I choose a blank app. So we are going to do this lab in a blank app project template. I have already created that, so I'm not creating it again, and by default we get this code. Let us first go ahead and change the put header of the application and let us call it list view demo. It makes sense. And to test it that we have successfully created a project, let us run this blank application which contains nothing but a header to see that if everything is working fine. Mind you, I want to remind you that I have run the application on the local machine. You can very much run it on the simulator as well. So here application is running, which is having a header list view demo, and now we are going to put list view and the data sources, etc. on this particular application. So let us go ahead and stop the application from running. So if you remember, the first step we discussed that we need to have data, we want to display it in the list view. For purpose of this demo, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to create a JavaScript array, and we'll be binding data from that array to the list view. So we can create a data JavaScript array in a usual manner, and for that here I have put one of my help document, and here I am creating a JavaScript array called var movie array. The name of the array is movie array. So I'll just copy it from here. I'll go to my default.js because default.js file where you write your JavaScript code, and the default.html where you write your HTML. So here let us go, and just in the beginning of the function I'm putting that array which I have created. So if you see here, this array is a simple array called movie array, which contains two properties, title and picture. In the title we are setting a title of the movie, and in the picture attribute or property we are setting the path of the movie image. So we need to have those images for the particular movie inside the images folder. So here we have created an array. Once the array or JavaScript array is created, the step 2 you need to do is to convert this array to something such that we can use that to bind as the data source of list view. I repeat that once JavaScript array is in place, or in case if you are consuming a service which is returning you a JSON data, you need to convert that data, that plain JavaScript array or that JSON which is being returned by the service, into something such that you can bind that to a list view or set that as the data source of the list view. And you can do that with this line of code where you say that convert this particular JavaScript array to a WinJS binding list. Create it as a list which I can bind it as the data source of the list view. And you can do that as new winjs.binding.list and pass the input array name here. So here we have created the data source. And the data source is nothing but a JavaScript array, as all the data is available in the program itself as a resource. And after that we have converted that JavaScript array to a bindable list using new winjs.binding.list and passing the JavaScript array name as the input there. The next step we need to do is to create the list view. So let us go ahead and create a list view on the HTML page. Now to create a list view, what we need to do on the HTML, we need to put a div. Once the div there, tell explicitly that this is not a normal div, this is a list view control, and for that you need to set data win control attribute, and this is winjs.ui list view. So go here, you see that IntelliSense is working for you, and select winjs.ui.list view. So by setting this data win control property, we have explicitly told that this is not a normal div, this is a WinJS list view. Let us go ahead and set the ID of the div as well, because we may need the ID of the div in the backend while setting the data source, and call it movie list view. Once we have set the ID of the div, we have set that this is not a normal div, this is a list view. The next thing we may want to do is to set some options for this control, and which can be set as data win option. In the data win option, let us set the layout, and in the layout we may say that we may want to render the list view as a grid. So here we set type as winjs.ui.grid layout. So what I have done here is that I have created a list view, and set the data option that the layout of the list view I want as a grid layout, or in a simpler word we can say we want to render the list view horizontally. So here we have put a list view on the HTML. The next step is to set the data source of this list view. In the step 1 we created that data source here, and that data source is data list, and now we have created a list view with the ID movie list view. We can very much set the data source either on the HTML or in the code behind. I'm going to show you that how we can set that in the code behind. Now to set the data source, item data source of list view from the code behind, that is from the JavaScript, the first thing which you need to do is to take the reference of the control and let us call it movie list equal to document.getElement by ID, and here we need to provide the ID of the control, and that is movie list view. Just copy it from here and put it. So in this way, in the JavaScript, we take the reference of a HTML element, but here is the catch that movie list view is not a regular HTML div element. It is a WinJS control, and we need to tell it explicitly by after taking the reference, say it is not a normal HTML element, this is a WinJS win control. So you need to append .win control after document.getElement by ID to convert that to a WinJS control. Now once we have the reference of list view control, we need to set the item data source of that, and we can set that movie list dot item data source equal to. Now if you remember that in first step we have created a list called data list, which we can set as the data source of the list view. So let us go ahead and say data list dot data source. So here we have set the item data source of list view, and now if we go ahead and run the application, let us see what happens. So save the application and run it. You see that we are getting all the data in the list view. So we have created a list view, and we have successfully bind the data in the list view. If you see that array is in its own form displayed in the list view, array title and the picture. So here that template come into the action. Now the third step of our process we need to perform. We need to create a template which will be instructing the list view that how they want to display the data. If we don't have template, data will be shown in its original form, raw form, which you can see here. Now to create a template, again we have put a div element and setting the data in control as winjs.binding.template. So this is defining that this is not a usual HTML div element, rather this is a WinJS template. Once you have set that, you can have any HTML inside the template. So we have put a div element, and inside the div element, if you remember, we need to display two information. One is the picture of the movie and second is the title of the movie. So we need to control to render those information. So we have put we have taken an image control. In that image control we will be displaying the picture of the movie, and then we have taken a h4 and we will be displaying the title of the movie in the header tag h4. Next, very important point you need to notice here, that how we are binding the data from data source to the control. We have put a control image, we have set the style, this is normal HTML. After that we are setting a WinJS attribute called data win bind. In the data win bind we are saying set the alt attribute of this particular HTML control to the title property of data source. Set the src attribute of this particular control img to the picture property of the data source. So picture and title is the property of data source, which you can see here, title and picture, and ALT and SRC is the attribute of image control, and we are setting that it here as you see. After that, again in the H4 we are setting their inner text attribute of H4 to the title property of the data source. So in this way we have created the template. Next we need to attach this template to the list view, and we can attach that as, again go to the data window option and say item template, and that item template would be the ID of the template which we just created. So in this way we have attached the template to the list view. Now if we go ahead and run the application on the local machine, yes, we want to run it on the local machine, you see that you see here that we are getting the title of the movies, but we are not getting the picture. So to add the images, let me go add existing item in the images folder, and I got those images on my desktop in the folder movie pics. So you remember that here we are having all the images and data available as resource locally, but in real-time scenario you may be getting data from our remote services or reading it from the local storage. So what I have done is that I have added all the images here. Let me save it and again run it to see how we see the output. And here you see that we got all the data from that array displayed. If you remember that in the list view, if you go, the first is image and then the title of the movie. So if you go here, first you see the image and then the title, and you see by default it has taken the WinJS list view attribute that you can do when you select a movie. You get display look, it is getting the color which is set as the accent color of this device, etc. And here you see all the movies bind. You can put the CSS on the list view to make it more immersive as you want. You can change the layout of the list view, which we have set it here, the grid view. You can set it to the list view if you want to display the data vertically rather horizontally. So this is all about that, how you can perform and work with the list view. I summarized that to work with list view, the first step you need to do is to create a data source, which we have created here, that data list. The second step is to put the list view and set the data window option like the layout, the template. The third step is to create a template and set it or rather attach it to the list view. List view is a very handy control when you create enterprise application or the application for large number of consumers. You need list view many times in your application. I hope I was able to explain you a fundamental working of list view, that how you can bind the data, how you can create template out of the list view, etc. I hope you find this video useful. Looking forward to see you in next video once again.